Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Shadows. I know it's been a minute. As I said in the Twitch stream last night, my phone is broken, so it made it a bit difficult to find. I had to find new ways to customize thumbnails and all of that good stuff. You know what I mean? So, it took me a little bit, but I got it all figured out, and I think now that I have it figured out, it actually is pretty easy to do without my phone. So, in other words, I'm going to be uploading as much as I can now, you know, because I ain't got much else better to do. And I've been saying this for a long time that I'm going to fix it and I'm going to prove it. You got to start somewhere, right? And I know it's hard to believe right now, but I'm back and I don't think I'm going to be going anywhere for a very long time. I think I'm going to do my best to keep uploading, even if it's not just story times. You know what I mean? But, besides all the blabbering, today's story time is definitely a more serious one. Definitely not just in my opinion. I think it's just factually serious, and y'all will understand in a minute. It involves me and a very stupid choice, a very stupid choice I made, and I want to inform y'all on the dangers of this. All right, and first and foremost, before I even start this, please never try pills of any type unless it's like mental medication or something like that, or something that actually helps you. Never take pills to try to escape or try to, you know, like numb yourself or get achieve any type of effects, because it's not worth it. It's terrible on your brain, it's terrible on your health. I just want to get all of that out of the way before I get into this. Like, this seriously, like, in all seriousness, this could have killed me. I, I know such a serious tone, but I just had to put this out here because this definitely is more serious. But without further ado, let's get into this. So, this all takes place like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it starts off as a normal day. I'm sitting there watching YouTube, and certain videos I like to watch a lot of videos about trips, like stories from trips, you know what I mean? So I'm scrolling through this channel that I like to watch, Tales from the Trip. You should really check it out. Really good channel. But anyways, I'm looking through and I see something about Benadryl. Like, tripping on Benadryl horror stories. I'm like, "Whoa. I literally have taken that before for like colds and shit like that." And I'm like, hold on, let me start watching this. And as I start watching this, the I don't know why, but it starts to intrigue me. I'm like, yo, like, this is actually super easy to get. People are saying they get visuals. I haven't heard nothing about anybody ending up in a hospital or anything. Spoiler, this does end up with me in the hospital, but you'll see how I end up at that point later on. So I'm watching this video and I'm like, this is low key really interesting. I was stupid at this time. I mean, I know it was only like 2 weeks ago, but I've grown a lot since then about this type of thing. So, yeah, as I'm watching this, I'm like, yo, super easy to get a hold of. Maybe I should go try to get some. And some of my memory is still lost from it because it really can really fuck you up. So I really don't remember, but I'm gonna start from what I remember from the night. So I leave the house and I start walking, and I end up picking up the Benadryl from somewhere. All right, that's one of the things I remember. And then I start walking to a friend that we're gonna call John. I start walking at John's house, and I call him up, and I'm like, "Yo, John, you ever heard of the Benadryl challenge?" And I'm like, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna do it. I heard you get some really crazy visuals and crazy shit. And John goes, "No, bro. I really don't want you to do that." And I'm like, "Bro, I'll be fine. Trust me. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's ever happened before from anything that I've done. So I don't see why this would be any different." And I'm like, "So, bro, you should let me come over." And at first he's like, Nah, man. I don't think that's a good idea." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go home with the bottle in my little bag. I had a little bag with me, so I put it in the bag, and I wrapped the bag up because every time you walk with pills in your like on you, you know, like it makes a rattling noise, and I didn't want nobody to hear that and be like, "Yo, what you got rattling in your pocket?" You know. So I put it in my pockets to where it would be like super quiet and not like rattling every time I walk. So I went home. It was my original plan was I was gonna wait till late that night and do them. Take like 12, 15 of them, however much I need to like get some shit going. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting. I'm like, yo, because I was really like impatient to do it. Like I was honestly excited at this time to do it, which I shouldn't have been, which you'll learn why later on. But yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm like, yo, this dude John like has got to let me come over because I don't know like how crazy this gets. Like I don't know if it's gonna make me like start walking around or doing any stupid shit, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I call up John and I'm like, yo, bro, can you please, please, please let me come over? And I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to sound like a terrible friend for this, but he's like, you can come over as long as you do not take any of that Benadryl at my house. And I'm like, I won't. So me being a smartass, I guess, goes to the bathroom, sits down, takes out about 10 of them. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to take 10, see how I'm feeling. Like, by the time I get there, and if I'm not feeling nothing, I might take a little bit more. So I take these 10, and as I'm walking there, nothing too crazy happens that I remember. Like, I remember it would mostly happen like it was really really weird. It was like slightly starting to kick in, I'm pretty sure, but like so slightly that it was like barely noticeable. Like you'd really have to be like paying attention to know that it was hitting, because I remember while I was walking up the road and like I was trying to get there fast, so I was speed walking, and for some reason my heartbeats, they felt like super 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 vivid. And I'm like, yo, this is weird, because my vision was also like kind of like flashy, if that makes sense. Like not bad flashy, but like the stuff would like go dark for a minute. Like you know how when you get like low health on like a video game or something, like your eyesight, if it's like a first person shooter or sometimes even third persons, like your eyesight, it'll get like flashy. Like it was flash, like the ground was flashing black, if that makes sense. So I was walking and the ground was flashing black. I'm like, I don't know if I'm just overthinking it, because other than that, nothing else was like messing with me. Like I was operating fine, I was walking fine, you know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know if I'm just overthinking this or what's going on, but I think I might be feeling it a little bit, but I wasn't sure. So I was like, nah, I'm probably just overthinking, which I probably wasn't. It probably was honestly starting to hit. I probably honestly should just gave it longer, and maybe none of this would have happened. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So as I'm walking, eventually I get there. As you do, I have my AirPods in. Just listen to music, and eventually I get there. I call up John. I'm like, "Yo, I'm here. Um, come on out." And he's like, "Nah, man, just go through the garage." And I'm like, "All right, that's cool." So I go through John's garage door. My bad. So I go through John's garage door, and I walk in to the house, and I sit down on the couch, and he was like, "Yo, what's good, man?" And he's like, "I know you said you didn't want me to take any, but I brought them just in case you change your mind, because I was stupid, okay? I was really stupid." So I was like, "I brought them just in case I change or you change your mind about me taking them here, but if you don't want me to, it's cool. I won't take them here." And I was honest with him. I was like, "I took 10 before I came here, but I'm fine. You don't got to worry about shit." And he's like, "All right, that's cool. Let's just chill for a little bit and I'll think about it." And I was like, "All right, that's cool. Your house." So we boot up YouTube, and we're sitting there, we're chilling. And I'm like, "Yo, John, bro. So you think about it?" And he's like, "You know what, bro? As long as you're careful and don't do anything to hurt yourself, you can go ahead and take a couple. But if I notice you're taking too many, I'm taking the bottle from you." And I'm like, "Fair." So I take out about five more. From what I remember, it was about five more. And I ask John to go get me a drink. And it was like, "Of course, man." So he goes, he gets me, I think it was a Mountain Dew or something. I don't know why this matters, but it was like a Mountain Dew or something. Just know I had something to drink to, as you do, swallow them. because they were pills. If you don't know what Benadryl is, they're pills. So I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but just getting that out of the way, just in case for those of you who don't know, which I'm sure you do. But anyway, I'm off track again. Um, so I take 5 of these little pink pills. I put them in my hand, take a drink, pop them in my mouth, and I swallow. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give them a little bit. So I'm chilling, just chilling there for a little bit and waiting to feel anything, and I don't feel none. Um, and then I take about 5 more, and this is when shit like starts to get tacky. You know what I mean? Like my memory and shit starts to get tacky because I remember I'm sitting there and all of a sudden it hits, like it hits heavily, and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden everything just kind of stops feeling real. Like I start feeling like I'm not there. Like I'll just be sitting there and I would just zone out. And then the last thing I remember after that, I don't remember if I was talking to John or anything, like in between this time, but I remember zoning, like zoning heavily on this black fan that was in the middle of the room. And I don't know what it was, but this black fan was just so weird to me. And it was like just one of those normal fans that just like rotate around the room, if you know what I'm talking about, like the taller ones, not the box fans, but like the taller ones. And if you could picture that in like a basement with a fireplace to the right and the fan sitting next to it. And I remember zoning out on this fan, bro. And it was just tripping me out so much, dude. And then all of a sudden, like all the colors became like super, super vivid. And I'm like, yo. And I remember this part. I remember looking over at John and I was like, "Yo, these are no joke, bro. Like I'm starting to feel these things." And he's like, "Yeah, man. I bet you've taken 20 of them." And I'm like, "Yeah, man. This is pretty insane." And then after that, I just kind of stopped talking and just zoned out. And then the last thing I remember after that is I started talking to him again. I was like, "Bro, we should have somebody pull up and bring a cart." And he's like, "Oh man, for sure, man, for sure. That sounds lit. Cause you're doing those. I don't want to do those. So I'd prefer somebody to bring one of those." And I was like, "You know what? That's fair." So we hit up a couple people, or more like he hits up a couple people, cause I was tripping balls at this point. So I was sitting there, and then apparently he hit up one of our friends, and we're gonna call this other friend Bob. And I look over, and I didn't even remember John leaving the room, but I see him walk back in. He's like, "Yo, look who I brought," and it was our boy Bob. And I look at Bob, and I'm like, "Bro, I'm so high right now." And he's like, "Oh my god, bro!" And he was like, he looks at John, and he goes, "What did this dude do?" And he was like, "Benadryl." And then this dude Bob just kind of like like blows it off. He's like, "Oh my god, this dude is wasted, bro." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm something." Like for sure. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I bet." And then he was like, "Well, you want to spice up the experience a little bit?" And then he pulls out an oil pen. If you don't know what that, well, I'm sure you do know what that is, but if you don't, it's basically a pen with THC oil in it. You know, that's short of it. But he pulls this oil pen out, or dab pen, whatever you like to call it, bro. He pulls it out, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my god, because I thought this was just gonna be a lit, fun night. You know what I mean? So I was sitting there, and I was like, oh my god, this is about to be so lit. And I take a couple rips off this thing, and then that just. I don't know if it was a mistake or if it wasn't a mistake. I'm pretty sure it was a mistake because after that, I like consider me out of the park, bro. Like it felt like I was a baseball and I just got smacked out for a home run, bro. Because after I took a couple rips off this pin, I was just like, what the actual fuck is happening? Because everything just got even more vivid colored and everything else just got like that much more like insane, bro. And I was like, oh my god. And I look at John and all I could say at this point is I'm high as fuck, dude. Like I'm high as fuck. And he looks at me and he's like, "Oh my god, bro. Like you might want to calm down, bro." And I knew a friend that had done this same challenge before. And I call him up and we're going to call him Gabriel. And I call up Gabriel and he's like, I'm like, "Bro, you said you did the Benadryl challenge before, right? Except my speech was probably like weird and tacky because I was tripping balls. But I do remember saying that, and I was like, "Bro, you did the Benadryl challenge before, right, Gabriel?" And he was like, "Yeah, why are you asking?" I was like, "I'm doing it right now. This dude John is worrying his ass off for nothing. Will you tell him I'll be fine because I've literally only taken 20 of them?" And he's like, "Oh, John, bro, like I did 60. I was fine. I was just having hella visuals, like some crazy shit like that. You know what I mean? He'll be fine. Just let him do his thing. It didn't hurt me. He'll be fine." And that kind of reassured John because he knew that he did that shit before, and he was like, "Okay, man, I'll trust your word on it." So after I hang up off the phone with Gabriel, I'm like, "All right then, bro. That's all I needed, bro. Thanks for the confirmation and shit because John was really tweaking balls over this shit." And he was like, "Yeah, no problem, man." So I'm sitting there and I'm like, "See, John, everything's fine. Now let me take a couple more." So at that point, I think I took like 10 more of them. And that may have been a mistake, bro. No, most definitely was a mistake because after that, bro, I just like it felt like I just went further out. Like I was just at that point, like I was like, "Bro, like this shit is no fucking joke." And eventually John builds up the courage and he asks, he's like, "You know what? I'm feeling bold." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna take 20 of them." I'm like, "Okay, big man." So he I hand him the bottle. He gets his 20, gets him a drink, pops him. That's all he does, you know. And I didn't get to see like what happened later after he took him, but I'm assuming that he started tripping because like a couple days later, one of my friends told me that he called John and John was like out of it, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." So maybe I should have just took my 20 because I'm even lighter than John. But to continue on, after that happened, like this is when shit starts getting really flashy, bro. Like really, really tacky. This is when my memory is like I don't remember much. But I do remember going over to this other. I remember trying to get up off the couch. Yeah, let's start there because that's what happened before. So we were sitting there, and I remember we were watching some sort of YouTube video. I'm not sure what the hell we were watching, but he hits up Nathan and he's like, "Bro, this dude Logan is like tripping, bro. Like we might, I think I'm gonna try to. You care if he stays the night at your house because he can't stay here?" And or the conversation was something like that, and Nathan's like, "Yeah, of course, bro." Because Nathan, keep in mind, like he was like the go-to guy. Like if you were too messed up and you weren't supposed to be doing that stuff, he was like the go-to guy to get you right and sobered up, all that good shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, he hits him up, Nathan, and then he's like, he looks at me. I remember this part, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Bro, you gotta go. Like it's pretty late, man. I'm gonna send you over to Nathan's. You're gonna stay the night there. You're gonna be fine." And I'm like, "All right, man. Whatever you say," or something like that. I was probably saying something stupid because I was tripping, but that's probably, I probably said something along those lines. I don't know. But then I remember trying to get up. And this is when it's like super weird because I remember trying to get up and it's like my legs just like they couldn't support my body weight, if that makes sense. Because I would get up and my legs would just give out and I would fall back onto the couch. And I tried this like 5 times. And in the state I was in, I was like laughing at myself, like failing. Like I would get up, fall down, then I would laugh and I'd be like, "Yo, no, I can't get up." Like I don't know if he thought I was joking or something because he was like, "Bro, like come on, stop playing." And then I tried again, and then I fell, and then I started laughing. I was like, "Bro, I cannot get up," and I just kept saying that every time I fell. And eventually, he grabbed me by my arm and he like pulled me up, and I'm guessing we went out of the house after that. And then I remember going in through Nathan's front door, and I don't know how the hell they got me to it, but they got me to Nathan's bedroom without anybody even getting to learn that I'm tripping. I mean, keep in mind Nathan's parents didn't care, but they would probably be pissed off if there was some motherfucker like absolute tripping balls and Nathan just brought him over because why not? You know what I mean? Because I would kind of just pop up in there and he really didn't ask, you know what I mean? But we got in there, he smuggled me in there, I guess is what you could say. And I remember he was really picky about people sitting on his bed, so he like set up a chair for me, and he's like, "All right, bro, just sit in the chair, bro." And I go and I sit in the chair, and then they like really start testing me. They're like, "Is you playing?" And then I or something like that. And then they're like, "Bro," because there was like so. All right, so picture this: tile floor, and then some of the tiles are like chipped, and then there's like a brown spot under it, like to reveal like the actual floor, what's under the tile. So they're like, "Bro, pick that up," and they point at the ground, and I look at the brown spot. I'm like, and it looked like it was like popping out of the floor, and I'm like, "Bro." So I bend over to pick it up, wondering what it was. I was like, "What is this, guys?" Or something like that. So I bend over and I try to pick it up off the floor, and it wasn't coming up. And they're like, "Bro, there's nothing there." And I was like, "What?" And then I looked at it again. I was like, "Bro, there really is nothing there." And then after that, I sat back up. And then after that, it's all blackout. And then the next thing I remember is I remember waking up for a split second, and I was just, it felt like I was being abducted by aliens, but it was actually an ambulance, which makes sense. Apparently I took more than I thought I did, because in the end it ended up being like 80, which I'd only remembered like the 30 until they told me about the 80. But I don't even remember when the hell I took the rest of them. But all I remember is that that bottle was empty, bro. But I remember looking around, there was bright lights everywhere, and then there was somebody standing over me, but I didn't know who it was. And I remember looking around, and I was like strapped to this bed thing, because I was on an ambulance. But I thought I was being abducted by aliens or some shit. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like all I saw was white light all around me, like it was tripping me out. And then after that, it's all black. And then the next thing I remember is like waking up in a hospital, and I look around. I'm like, "Whoa, what happened?" And my mom was there, and then I think my dad was there, but I'm not for sure. And I'm like, "What happened?" And she goes, "You overdosed." I'm like, "Huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, you overdosed." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "You took way too much of that stuff. Like, why did you do that? Stuff like that." And I was like, "What? Huh? How much did I take?" And then she's like, "About 80 if your friend only took 20." And I'm like, "Oh my god." And I was like, "Oh my god." And she was like, "Yeah, we could have lost you." And I was like, that's when I realized, I was like, that shit is no joke, you know what I mean? So I'm sitting there, and I think I was only there for like one extra night. The next day I got discharged, and like on the ride home, it was just, I was just in denial, bro. I was like, "Oh my god, dude." Like, "Oh my god, like never again, bro." And that's pretty much that, bro. I've made a full recovery since then. I don't think there's any lasting effects that's messed up with my brain or anything. Not that I know of. um, but I think that's gonna do it. Nothing really happened after that. My life pretty much just went back to normal, except I don't have a phone because it's broken. But I will hopefully have a new one, a better one, when I do get one. I'm planning on getting an iPhone 14, but that don't matter to y'all. But that concludes the story time. Moral of the story is, don't mess with pills. Don't mess with any hard drug like that. You know what I mean? Like, weed's fine, stuff like that's fine, but please don't mess with pills. But now that that's out of the way, I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Don't do pills. Um, but other than that, I think that's gonna do it for the video. Leave a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. If you want to see more like this, leave a comment down below of what type of stories I should do next, or if you have any stories, send them in. I'm all ears. But yeah. Other than that, that's gonna do it, guys. Um, I promise, upload schedule will be back. The daily upload grind will be returning, and if not an upload, then a stream. I'll promise you either one. Shadows Gaming 44 on Twitch. Don't forget. But other than that, that's gonna do it. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.